Before introducing them, I just want to, those of you who've done Visionnaires programs, and I see some of you who are on there who've done that, I just want to congratulate you. If you've done the Start Your Own Business program, the Startup Step Up London program, can you show, just put your hand up on the system if you've completed one of the Visionnaires programs? You're able to do that? I know one or two. Thank you. Rosanna, Aoife, Colin, Julia, Tracy, Adrian, Anthony. Thank you. So there's quite a few people have completed programs, and if you've not completed Visionnaires program, then do have a look at our website, visionnaires.ac.uk. We'll put it in the chat as well, where you can register interest in starting a program. And it's not just a program. There's lots of other resources, and obviously you've been invited to this. You will be invited to future seminars as well that we run regularly in any case. So without further ado, I'd like to say hello and welcome to Cathy Ennis and Emma Good, who are our experts today, and will introduce themselves. They will talk and they will invite questions as we go. We're booked up until 6 o'clock. We usually finish a little bit before then, but as you go, when there's a chance to answer questions, the best way to do that is to put your questions into the chat function. So if I could ask you to do that when it comes to the questions, and Cathy and Emma, in my experience, will answer your questions brilliantly. And if they can't, we don't know the answer to things, we will take them away and come back to you when we feedback after today. But that's very unlikely in their case. So without further ado, Emma, over to you.
Thank you, Pablo. No pressure there. Now there's going to be loads of questions that I've never ever heard of, but brilliant to be with everybody this afternoon. Thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule to join us today. So as Pablo kindly explained, Cathy and I are with you this afternoon to talk about all things social media, very hot topic always. We get asked a lot how to do social media from a small business point of view and a startup point of view. So it's one of our favourite topics, and we're hoping to share really practical tips that you can implement straight away. So I'll go first, and then I'll hand over to my colleague and business partner, Cathy. My name is Emma Good. I have a digital marketing agency called 24 Fingers in Essex. So we help people that are all fingers and thumbs with their digital marketing. You don't have to be from Essex to work with us. We work with people all over the country, but the commonality is that we help people get more out their digital marketing without spending a fortune, without spending 24 hours a day doing it. And we try and take out the jargon and some of the black art and the mystery around digital marketing. We make it really practical and hopefully give sensible advice that you can implement and see results and see engagement. So that's my part of the proceedings this afternoon. I'm going to hand over to Cathy Ennis.
Thanks very much, Emma, and hello everybody, and thanks very much for coming along this evening. My name is Cathy Ennis, and unlike Emma, I'm not in Essex. I'm actually in Norfolk, so I'm even further east than she is, and actually I'm west, if you can work that out, if you know anything about geography. But my company is called Little Piggy, and my role is to help businesses get off to market, not in terms of marketing, but in terms of getting their businesses fit and ready to market. So I help businesses understand the power of brand, understand products and pricing, understand customer acquisition. Basically, I handle all the strategy side of things in terms of the things that make the business work. And that's why Emma and I work together so closely, is the fact that I help people understand the strategic side of things, you know, what it is that they should be doing, how to take action on the sorts of things that they should be doing. And then Emma's the whiz kid who actually makes all those wonderful things happen. So we work together an awful lot in terms of the joint clients that we have, but also on programs like this, because we think that the two halves that we've actually got quite often solve the problem of things falling through the middle, of so this social stuff, what is actually really going to happen in terms of the results in my business? Because it's all very well and good doing social media, but if it doesn't turn into a customer and if it doesn't turn into any money in the bank, then you might as well just not do it. So we're very, very practical in the things that we do. The things that we're going to be talking about this evening are incredibly practical. We are going to be talking about social media, but we're going to be talking about it in its wider context, because we think that a lot of people don't necessarily think holistically about what it is that they're doing and how all the online stuff fits in with their general marketing strategy. So we will be looking at the platforms, but we'll actually be looking at it in a wider context as well. Anything you want to add in there, Emma, after that?
No, I think as always you've took all the words out of my brain and covered it even better.
And that's hard at this end of the day. I must say, I'm not a morning person and I'm not an afternoon person. I have yet to find out what part of the day is my best bit. So one day I'll find it. So I'm going to pull up some slides now. We'll go through the slides that we've got with information. But as Pablo said, please, any questions that you've got, do pop them into the chat area, because we do like things to be as interactive as possible. So we don't expect you to keep your questions until the end. We'd much rather answer them as we go along. So we'll stop at regular points to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to share some slides with you. And let's just pull that up here. There we go, and let's just go into this one. So Emma, do you want to pick up on this one?
Yes. I was going to ask you. Normally
I'll chime in.
Yeah, normally we have a set format. So Kathy and I swap. So you don't get sick of hearing one of us for too long. So really key, actually, just crack on and begin with this session, is the idea that in each of our businesses we've got a set of people that we want to work with. And one of the challenges and one of the things that we'd encourage you to take away from today's session is, who do you want to work with? Who are you already working with? How do you get more of those type of people? So I explained that I'm from Essex. Essex is one of our brand values in the business, and you can ask me later what an Essex brand value means. But for me, I tend to work with people that are over 30. I can't teach a young kid about social media. I tend to work with women and men, so nothing about specific genders. I tend to work with people that are in the southeast of England, and I tend to work with people, business owners that didn't grow up with social media. So that's kind of my ideal client. And each of us on the call today will have a set of people that we want to target. And we can use digital marketing to target those people really, really effectively. But the key point is we need to know who they are before we do that. Before we spend any money on a Facebook ad, before we write an email, we need to absolutely understand who we want to target and what we want to say to them. Pablo, are we getting some feedback on my...
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of feedback. Maybe if Kathy, you mute, yeah, that might help. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant, thank you. So one of the things that I found in my business when I started nearly 8 years ago, it feels like 8 days, but it was eight years ago, is I made quite a big error. I went to market trying to help everybody. So whoever rang up and whoever I referred to and whoever recommended me, I would work with them. And it ended up that I was doing social media for, and this is no joke, I was doing it for a super yacht company and a debt collector and everybody in between. So like you couldn't get more two distinct audiences, and it caused me loads of problems. It caused me a problem in that my messaging wasn't as strong. I wasn't talking to anybody because I was trying to talk to everybody. I didn't really have a clue in terms of where I was going to get the next person. They just kind of landed with me, and because I wasn't clear on my message, it meant that I couldn't get a clear understanding of what I was going to market with, so my products, my services, because I would do anything for anybody. So I'd really encourage you, and Kathy's brilliant at this, really encourage you to start thinking about who you want to work with, why you want to work with them, and then go and look at how we find those people. So I just said, you know, my typical business owner is probably over 30. So when I go onto Facebook, for example, I can set up targeting that only reaches people that are over 30, that have got managing director in their title, that have got founder in their title, and I can do that on LinkedIn, I can do that on Facebook, I can do that on Instagram, and all of that is a brilliant foundation before you start doing anything on social media. You're going to hone in, you're going to find these people, and then you're going to talk to them in a way that really resonates.
Yeah, and I just want to add into here. There's an interesting thing when people start businesses, that they start considering, who do I think will buy my products or services? And I want you to really shift your mindset in those circumstances, because I want you to start thinking about, who do I want to buy my products and services? Because there's a very big chasm between those two things. Because that side of things about who you think might want to buy it opens you up to working with everyone, that situation that Emma was describing to you, and a fear of actually saying to people, or, you know, whether it's physically or within your head, you're not the kind of person that I should be working with, because you're not my target. And we've put here that you have to be Marmite, and I think that, you know, that concept of brilliant marketing campaign, by the way, the love it or loathe it of Marmite is what we're actually looking for in terms of our businesses as well. There will be people that love what we do and the way that we do it, and they will be our customers, and then there will be lots of people who don't, but that's absolutely fine, because there are enough customers to go around. So the fear factor is, if I don't sell to everybody, I might sell to nobody. But it's completely the opposite way. You need to think about it in the opposite way, that if you attempt to sell it to everybody, you will probably sell it to nobody. So it's being specific, as Emma said, being identifiable, and also they need to be people that you can get in contact with. So you need to start thinking about, where are they? And that's going to become apparent as we go through some of the things that we're actually covering this evening.
I was going to add a fourth bullet point in there. They've got to have some money as well. I made like the massive mistake at the beginning of my business for doing stuff for mates rates. I had a lot of mates wanting social media, and I really devalued my service. So whoever you pick as your ideal client, make sure at the beginning of the conversation that you establish whether they've got budget. Again, another mistake I made. I saw a load of pictures, only to find out at the end of the pitch that they'd never had a budget in the first place. They just wanted ideas. So yeah, just sharing what I did wrong and what I've learned from. So we were talking about targeting just now, and one of the easiest ways to get an idea of your ideal client is to put a label, a metaphorical label on them. And how we do that is by giving them an avatar. You might have heard that term. It's a kind of a fancy marketing term for a persona, if you like. And when we know this persona, it's much easier to go and find these people. So, you know, give them a name, give them a gender, give them an age. Once you've built up enough picture of this person, you're going to understand what their pain points. There's another challenge, actually. If you can write 99 pain points, 99 problems that your ideal client might have, you're going to find content marketing an absolute breeze. But there will be things that come out at you. So, you know, my business owner ideal client is really worried about spending thousands on Facebook ads and not getting a return. That's a huge problem, and they want to try it. They might have tried it before and it hasn't worked for them. One of their problems is they feel a little bit nervous before they post on LinkedIn. They don't want to feel stupid. They don't want to embarrass themselves in front of their peers. So all of these kind of commonalities will help you build up a picture, and then your targeting and your messaging can be kind of laser driven to these people's pain points. Because if you can solve a problem, then they're more likely to buy from you.
I just want to throw in here as well that you might be thinking, okay, this is all right if I've got a business to consumer business that, you know, I might be thinking about, you know, that they're 40 years old, that they're female, that they live in Weston-super-Mare or whatever it might be. But maybe you've got a business where you're selling to another business. And what I really want you to start considering is the fact that businesses themselves have characteristics and personalities. So if, for example, you are targeting financial institutions, they are going to have characteristics that will make them different to maybe if you're targeting local authorities. So you need to understand the drivers behind the sector that you're targeting if you're going business to business. But then within that, remember that the people that you will be dealing with, conversing with about the products and services that you want to sell, will be people, and they will have characteristics such as these. So I will give you a classic example. When I had my purely training company years ago, I used to work with a lot of big law firms, financial services companies. I was brought in by their training or their development departments that tended to sit within human resources. And statistically, the number of people who are in charge of human resources departments in larger companies tend to be female. And they tend to be female of around about 40 to 45. So I knew that I would be working with businesses that had that kind of personality, if you want to put it that way, but actually the person that I would be dealing with would probably be a bit like this in terms of description. So when you're creating that avatar, it's really, you know, you can actually make sure that it reflects both business to customer as well as business to business in terms of what you're doing. The reason we're stressing this right at the beginning here in terms of social is the fact that one of the biggest problems that Emma and I find is that a lot of people are talking in the wrong places to the wrong people. And by doing this kind of information, this kind of work up front in terms of creating this information for yourself means that you'll be putting the time and hopefully the budget that you've got into your promotional side of things in the right places, rather than wasting time and money unnecessarily. I think you're on mute, Emma.
Sorry, 2 years in, I'm still doing that schoolgirl error, sorry. So I spoke about this concept of like 99 problems, and effectively this is what we want to really spend some time doing. Like I said, it's going to make your content so much easier, but it will give you some confidence as well. You know, let's be honest, there's a million social media managers in the country. There's like a million in Essex, actually. Everyone's a social media manager in Essex. So I need to differentiate myself, and how I do that is through my content, and how I do that is through my USPs, and how I do that is through the unique things that I do that nobody else does. So if you look at any of our content, we're always quite sarcastic. We're a bit self-deprecating, don't take ourselves too seriously. That's very different to an agency that are all suited and booted and don't drop their H's and use slang and that kind of thing. I'll always say me and Kathy rather than Kathy and I, because I wouldn't say Kathy and I in real life, so it sounds a bit fakey. So I have to be real, and you know, not everyone's going to like that, but that's absolutely fine. And as Kathy said, so when I put this picture in my mind together, I've got an absolute certainty that the content I'm going to create is going to hit the spot and bring me engagement.
Yeah, so one of the things about knowing who your customers are and what their problems are is that, as Emma said, when it comes to creating content for your social posts and for your other digital marketing and other marketing generally, is the fact that what you're not doing is selling to people. What you're doing is you're demonstrating that you understand the problems that they've got and how you solve those problems, and how working with you is going to be the solution to the issues that they've got. So by understanding your customers, understanding the problems that they've got, what you've actually got there is a roadmap to create social media content for a long period of time. You know, and one of the biggest problems that most businesses have, most startup businesses have, is time. And so what you want to be able to do is to pre-plan as much as you can everything that you've got to do. If you know these things about your customers, if you know maybe these are the things that are keeping them awake at night, or the things that they're looking for, you can plan your content for a year in advance, which means that you, during the day-to-day running of the business, you're not sitting there, as I've had clients that I've worked with in the past who have said, I wake up every morning and I worry about what am I going to post today. Well, if you've done this kind of work up front, you're never going to have that concern, because you've got it all to hand. You know what it is that you're going to be posting, why you're going to be posting it, where you're going to be posting it, and who should be responding to it.
So, the million-dollar question, and one that I get asked all the time: what's the right social media platform for me? And it's not one size fits all answer, but I'm hoping that when we go through the slides together, you're going to have a better understanding and validation, if you like, of where you're hanging out, and where your tribe or your ideal client is hanging out too. So, key thing here is that we don't have to be on all of them. Back in the day, the idea was that you launched on all of them, but whereas now we kind of recommend doing one really, really well and then moving on to others, and you can decide what that one that you can do really well at the beginning is. For me, I started on Twitter. I love Twitter. I couldn't love Twitter more. I was a late adopter to Instagram. It's not my kind of platform of choice, because I find hours can go by and all I've done is look at pictures of art or mint green stilettos. There's a day in lockdown, it's a bit of a private joke, Kathy and I, there's a day in lockdown that I think it all just got to me, and I've never worn stilettos in my life, and I bought 9 pairs in one day, which is a bit crazy, but Instagram is brilliant for that kind of inspiration. It's quite dangerous as well. So we're going to look at each of the platforms. We're going to look at what the demographics are on the platforms, and then you can decide, knowing your business, knowing your ideal client, where you're going to spend your efforts and potentially money.
Have we had any questions so far? Because I can't see it with the slides.
We're question free, but do feel free to pop in if anybody has got a burning question.
Yeah, please do give us some questions, because it will make it more relevant to you. If there's something that is specifically on your mind, so do ask us questions. Okay. I was going to say one thing here as well, is that one thing to be aware of is that we're talking to you at a point in time about a set of social media platforms. You cannot learn a platform and expect it to stay the same forever. Emma said, you know, that she adopted Twitter early on, so did I, and lots of people perhaps went into Facebook, and you've heard all the stories about, you know, somebody set up a Facebook page and within 6 months their business was earning 6 figures and all of this kind of stuff. The fact of the matter is that every single platform changes over time, and its demographic changes over time, and its ability to reach certain audiences changes over time. One of the things, if you'd asked Emma and I 2 years ago about TikTok, we would have said, you know, it's on its way out, you know, it was a good idea, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything. Then we went into lockdowns, the whole thing exploded, and the last thing I read was that it's the 4th most used social platform on the planet now. So, you know, you do need to keep on top of these as well as you go forward. So I'm fully with Emma there, is that it's better to find a platform that most closely resembles your target customer, get really familiar with that platform, use it and leverage it as much as you possibly can, rather than spreading yourself too thin across a whole variety of them. It will be much easier for you to manage that, and then also to measure the impact that you're actually having. Okay.
So we'll do the biggest first, Facebook. I always say Facebook, I mean Meta, but you know what I mean. I haven't got into the habit of saying Meta yet. Facebook is extremely powerful for small business owners. We can target 40 million people via Facebook. The data that they have on us is scary if you don't like that kind of thing, or amazing if you want to take advantage of that thing. I can target people that drink coffee at Costa Coffee, that live within a mile of me, that are parents that send their children to a particular school. You know, that is beyond powerful, and there's no cheaper platform to do that on at the moment. Facebook is a place where you can target your homeowners, your parents, your pet owners, your grandparents. It's not a place where you're going to target the millennials or the Snapchat generation or your TikTok generation. This is a place for what I call kind of like middle England in terms of demographics. It's people that will buy a home, a car, etc. Gender split fairly equal, and the key thing here for Facebook is that it's a pay-to-play platform now. So as in the olden days, you could put up a post on Facebook and get engagement organically. Nowadays, if you want consistent growth and consistent engagement, you do have to pay for it. The fee doesn't have to be onerous. You could start from £3 a day. The minimum that Facebook is saying nowadays, if you want to run an ad campaign, is between £10 and £30 a day. So, you know, between kind of £300 and £900 a day, a month click budget. That's not to be sniffed at. I know that that's a fairly hefty investment for some of us. I don't advertise on Facebook. Groups, though, is where Facebook's going. So if you want engagement, get into groups, either create your own group or participate in a group, because that's where they're pushing the algorithm.
Yeah, I think that there are some myths about Facebook now. When the ability to create a business page first started, it was the organic reach of posts. So you put something up, the likelihood of it getting in front of the people that had liked your page was pretty decent. You know, it would have got in front of probably 10% of those people. These days we're sort of lucky if it gets in front of 1%. So a Facebook page is really useful for what I'd call a trust mark. You know, if somebody's looking up your business online and they see that there's a Facebook page that is kept up to date, and by that I don't mean, you know, like 20 posts a day, maybe 2 or 3 a week or something, that actually works quite well. But if you really want Facebook to make any kinds of inroads in terms of really reaching the people that you're trying to reach, as Emma said, you can't do that for free these days. You do need to put some ads revenue. So this is, you know, when I said about me being strategic in terms of when I work with businesses, it's thinking about, well, what is my marketing budget for the month? What is my marketing budget for the year? What percentage of that budget actually goes on, say, Facebook ads or Instagram ads or those kinds of things. So I think you really do need to start considering that. And I will hold my hands up and say I totally agree with Emma that if you do want to get some connection where you're not paying, groups are the way to go, but they do take quite a bit of management. Okay, so that it's not just a question of posting stuff up. You do have to be in there. So you know, that would be the kind of thing that I would be getting you to think about. Maybe a personal profile on Facebook, a business page where you post, you know, a few times, but then a group where you actually really get in and talk to people who are either customers or likely to become customers. So that would be the way I would be looking at that. But definitely having some kind of budget for ads as well to get yourself in front of people.
Thanks, Kathy. So we've had a couple of bits in chat. Colin's made a really great point about Facebook groups and the rules. So as Colin quite rightly said, each of the Facebook groups will have rules, and the rules will determine when you can post promotional or advertising stuff. If you post it and they're not happy, they can kick you out. So do check the rules before you start posting into groups. And we've had another question, actually, Pablo's asked, best media platforms for someone selling creative products, art, photography, etc. I'm going to say you can let us know, actually, after we've finished this section of the slides, because that was one of your bits of homework actually. So I'm going to pass that answer back to you all.
Yeah, and again, just to pick up on that about group rules, if you are setting up a group yourself as a way to encourage potential customers to engage with you, you set your own rules. So you can set your group rules specifically for the kinds of ways that you want people to engage within your group, and then it's up to you to police those as well as you go forward. Okay, so that's that. I'll go back to share. Hopefully, yep, there we go. I'm sort of getting the hang of this now, I hope.
Okay, so Instagram owned by Meta, it's kind of sister platform to Facebook. The two work really well together, so you can essentially run an ad campaign on Facebook and at Instagram at the same time. They always push you to cross post as well, and I see a lot of people doing that. In terms of who's using Instagram, it's everybody, from the young to the elders. It's a brilliant platform to get lost in. It's a brilliant platform to show your personal brand. It's a brilliant platform to sell product. There's not much that you can't do on Instagram. And now with a creator account, they're actually monetizing it, so that if you get a certain number of views or you create a video that gets lots of engagement, for example, they'll actually pay you, which is amazing. It won't be fortunes, you won't be able to retire on it, but there is a monetization program. So Instagram, extremely powerful and backed by Facebook targeting. It's a brilliant platform to start off on. Kathy's put here, make sure you're using a business account. Absolutely crucial. If you use a business account, you're going to get insights, and that's going to determine how well your content's doing and show you what you need to tweak.
Yeah, and I think that there's still a little bit of a thought process that maybe Instagram is for the very young. But the fact of the matter is that it's been around for a few years now, and the young people that first adopted it have grown up a bit, and then all the oldies like me have got on there as well, so that's sort of skewed the demographic a little bit. But this is what I meant when I was saying earlier about the different platforms changing, and they slightly change the demographic. So the Instagram, people on Instagram are tending to get a little bit more mature, and the younger ones are perhaps going to some of the other platforms. So it is worthwhile keeping an eye on that. Yeah, and the whole reason for having a business account, and this is why you have a business page on Facebook and various things like that, is the fact that they have data built in, so they have analytics built in, so that you can actually look at the numbers and see what is happening to your content. So how many people are engaging with it, and one of the things that's quite nice on Instagram is it shows you how many people that have engaged with your content who are followers of yours already, and people who are not followers of yours already, so that you can see whether your content is actually having an impact outside your community that you've built already. So every single thing that you're doing, you need to be regularly assessing the data to make sure that what you're doing is having the impact that you actually want. And this is something Emma and I come up against quite often, where business owners are slavishly posting or putting things on platforms, and then when you look at what the outcome is, it's not having any impact at all, and they probably would have been better off, you know, taking the dog for a walk rather than sitting there trying to think of a social post. So, you know, really do make use of the analytics that the different platforms have got.
Okay, LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has changed a lot. It used to be the place where you told everyone how wonderful you were and how many letters you had behind your name, but it's not like that now. It's your new Facebook. So it's a place where things go viral. It's a place where we talk about our business journeys, what went wrong, what went right. It's a place where people debate. It's also a bit like a dating app, actually. The amount of messages that people get sent, it's a bit of a crazy place. But in essence, it's a really good place to make business connections, to network, to find potential collaboration partners. And because they put in so much R&D budget, when it got bought out by Microsoft, they ploughed millions into it. Any functionality that happens on Facebook and Instagram will now start happening on LinkedIn too. The great thing on LinkedIn, or not so great, depending on what side of the fence you're on, is polls. The algorithm loves a poll. So if you can create a poll that gets engagement, they will reward you for it. I did a poll the other day. It was National Tech Day, and I'm old enough to remember when you could only have a computer once a week at school. So I did this poll, because I know that my ideal client, as I said, is over 30. So I said, you know, I might show my age if I remember the BBC Commodore 64 or whatever it was. Anyway, cut a really long story short, that poll got seen by 30,000 people, and 500 people took the time to comment on the poll, vote, and then it gave me the opportunity to contact them 500 people, add them to my network, start engaging, start inviting them to my seminars, etc., etc. So think about how to work with the algorithm rather than against it.
Yeah, I think that LinkedIn is one of the most underrated platforms. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding these days about what it is, what it does, and what it's for. I would more happily spend my time in that space than I would perhaps in Facebook, because personally I'm actually seeing more return on my time in there. I think that's the crucial thing. So it's not just a place where you, as Emma said, where it used to be where you just put your CV up. That's not it anymore. It's for making connections, both in a business to customer and a business to business way. So it's not just that you're going in there if you're doing B2B work. I think it is important that you have a personal profile and a company page, so that you can use a personal profile to be you, and engage with people and develop those relationships, because business is all about relationships, and a company page where you can share information about the successes of the company, the direction it's going in, the things that you're doing. And it is a platform that if you haven't been in it for some time, I think you will see that there is a very, very big difference in what it does. So I think where Facebook, as we were saying, is sort of sliding off in terms of its ability just through the business page to engage with an audience, LinkedIn is picking up that slack. I think that's the crucial thing, is that there's more connectivity in there at the moment. So I wouldn't dismiss that one, definitely.
Definitely can't dismiss Twitter as a platform ever. What's interesting is when we talk to business owners about Twitter, they often say, "Oh no, can't get the hang around of Twitter." I'm not sure what the point of Twitter is. Actually, Kathy, sorry, do you mind going on mute again? Thank you. They're not quite sure about what the point is on Twitter. What we would say is Twitter's a place where you can get PR. So we've got clients, a lot of coverage on PR purely by replying to journalists who are looking for a story. You need to be visible on Twitter. You need to kind of wave your flag for what you believe in. So things like charities, people with causes, people that are wanting to change society, people that are wanting to change imbalance in the world, do brilliantly on Twitter. You don't have to be like Trump all the time, but what you can't do is just get onto Twitter and say, you know, I've got this thing and I'm going to give you 20% off. That won't work on Twitter. You actually need to raise your head above the parapet, shall we say.
What we're not saying is that you have to go on there and be awful to people, which is what some people do, I will say. But it is very much the thing with business is that, going back to what we were saying before, you cannot be vanilla. You cannot be everything to all people and you know, everybody's friend and everybody's mate. There has to be the Marmite issue that comes in there, that, you know, this is what I do, this is what I believe in, this is how I operate, as opposed to that other business over there that does it the other way. That's not to say that you need to be aggressive or rude or anything like that. It's just that we do it this way here, and that's the kind of thing that you can use Twitter for, is to say, you know, from our business point of view, this is how we view this is how we do this is the way we approach those things. And as Emma said, you know, one of the key things there is the ability to get in front of journalists, really, I will say very, very easily. It's probably the easiest place to get in front of a journalist, because they're always out there looking for people for examples, for commentary, for engagement of some sort. So don't dismiss Twitter as just being people being rude to comedians. It's not that at all. It is a platform where businesses do business. So I think you know, if you are, as Emma said, if you've got a business that, I won't say wants to change the world, but you've got a mission in that sense, this is definitely the place where you need to be.
Okay, YouTube. My son works from home, and all I hear is these kids screeching onto YouTube every day, all day long. But from a business point of view, again, extremely powerful. People are staying on YouTube, you know, 40 minutes a time on average. That's crazy. What YouTube is really good at is demonstrating how we do stuff. So if you've got something that you can demonstrate and video yourself doing, go onto YouTube. It doesn't mean to say that people are going to do your job for you, or not use your business because they think they can do it, but people love watching how to do stuff. I can watch a plumber on YouTube, but it doesn't mean to say that I'm ever going to, I don't know, fix a toilet or do anything else practically. I'm just not. But YouTube, extremely powerful, both for views, brand awareness, but also search results.
Yeah, I think, remember, YouTube is owned by Google as well, so Google loves putting its own content in front of people when they do a search on its platform, you know, to find out something. So your business, whatever your business, needs to have a video strategy within it. And I think this goes across the whole of your social. So not just what kind of videos am I going to be putting up on YouTube, but, you know, what videos am I going to be creating to go out on the various platforms? So classic one, you know, if you're doing Instagram and you're creating reels for Instagram, there's a bit of video. All of these things can actually then be stored on YouTube as a one-stop space where all of your content that is that kind of format, so that people can come in and see the breadth of everything that you're doing. So it's not just that you have to be Steven Spielberg or something like that and have some brilliant stuff. The other thing that we find a lot is that people tend to be a little bit put off about creating video because they think that it has to be super duper professional. But what is actually more true is that what people engage with more is realism. So they don't mind it if it's a little bit grainy. They don't mind it if you and and all of those kinds of things. The biggest thing I would say about, if you're going to be doing any video of any type, get onto Amazon, buy yourself a ring light, which is one of those round lights that gives you really good stuff. As long as you've got that on, you can just do talking head stuff, and you'll be amazed at how much more engagement you'll get from a moving image than you will from writing reams and reams and reams of words in a social post. So do start thinking about video as part of your plan.
Pinterest is a brilliant platform, often one of the less common ones when we talk to business owners, but brilliant if you've got a product that you can sell. And even for B2B, actually, there's a lot of really successful accounts that do things like infographics, for example, predominantly female based. So it's for people that want inspiration or knowledge, shall we say. Brilliant way of driving back traffic to your website, because people can buy from you once they've seen the product on Pinterest? A lot of money being taken on Pinterest for sure.
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, the interesting thing is, and Emma explains this really well, is the difference between intention when your potential customers go onto social platforms. So when people go onto Facebook, their intention isn't necessarily to go on to buy something. Whereas often when people are going onto Pinterest, they are looking for something specific, and they're going in there. They may not want to buy immediately, but you know, if they're going in and they're looking at, I don't know, bathrooms or kitchens or pieces of art or something like that, they're going in there because it's likely that they're going to be wanting to buy a kitchen or a bathroom or a piece of art. So there's more of a buying intent when people go onto Pinterest. So it is, if you've got products of any type, and I don't mean just beautiful, I don't know, candles or soap or shoes or things, even if you're selling books that you've written or something like that, Pinterest is a brilliant place to feature these things, because people quite often go along and they've already got their debit or credit card in their hand. So, you know, do be aware of that when you're thinking about the different social platforms.
Kathy mentioned this earlier, so we won't labour the point, but TikTok, yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable in front of camera and you've got something to say and you're willing to say it in a witty, stroke amusing, stroke interesting way, TikTok is TikTok's your world. I'm not on TikTok.
I'm not on TikTok either. Yeah, it's going to take me a little while to get on there. I must say, with most social platforms, I'm not the most early adopter of things, but I can see how this platform can work really well across the board in terms of business, and I've said this a couple of times in terms of most recently, I was really quite taken aback in the first episode of this season's Apprentice when Alan Sugar, who hates marketing with a vengeance, asked them in the first task that one of the things they had to do was to actually do some promo stuff using TikTok. And I thought, crikey, there's a really big change in terms of the view and the perception of this platform as something that can start selling products and services.
Faust has asked a great question. Can you use Pinterest to promote services? Yes, you definitely can, either paid or organic. There's a lot of coaches actually on Pinterest. There's a lot of people sharing good stuff, how-to guides, downloadables. So yeah, really powerful. Yeah,
I think if you're a non-product business, one of the things I've found Pinterest works for mostly is basically lead generation. So if you're sharing things like 5 steps to something or other, or the 7 mistakes so and so always makes, or something like that, the ability to build your email marketing side of things is really good through Pinterest, because people will sign up to get your downloadable resources. So that's the kind of thing. And of course, if you are a coach or a consultant or a that kind of business, is I'd definitely be getting you to create some kind of paid for ebook, if nothing else, as some income generation for yourself. So yeah, definitely I'd be looking at Pinterest for that. Okay, so let's just go back to here.
Ugo's asking if you can upload videos on Pinterest. Yes, you can. Just make sure that the cover on the video is the one that you want to see. And I think Rose might have a question.
Oh, okay. Right.
Hi, I'm embarrassed to say I don't know where to ask questions. I can't see the question box this time, so I just thought I'd ask in case I have one. I can't see where the question box is on my screen.
At the top of the screen, there should be something that says chat.
No, there isn't. There is usually. I don't know why there isn't today on my screen. Am I doing something wrong?
Oh, if you want to ask a question, Rose,
Yeah,
just put your hand up and we'll spot that from there.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Right, let's go back to here. Here we go.
So Snapchat is definitely not my world. If you've got a fashion brand, if you're doing anything music-wise, anything sport-wise, then you're going to be wanting to be on the Snapchat, but targeting the millennials, so quite a costly platform, and certainly used for DMs and big global brands, rather than your average kind of high street, not high street, kind of smaller SME, B2B type company.
Yeah, it's an interesting platform. It's had a very checkered career, and I think that as Emma said, you know, there are certain types of businesses that work really well on there. For the vast majority, maybe not so much, and probably not so much if you're starting up and you're looking at your budgets really closely. So there you could probably get more impact maybe through something like Instagram and spending on promo through that right at the beginning, rather than necessarily going into Snapchat straight away. Okay. So we thought we'd give you just one little thing to do. We've been through all of those. Those platforms. Thinking about your business, what we'd really like you to think about is, from that explanation, if you were to choose 3, what would be your top 3 in priority order? You know, where do you think that you would say start, and then move forward from? Okay. So we've got Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube from Colin. Is that, I'm not sure whether that's pronounced Cian or Cayenne. Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest from Fausta. Yeah. Adrian said Facebook, Instagram. Yeah. Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. So somebody's doing something visual there. YouTube for main exposure, then use TikTok for promoting, says Julia. Yeah. LinkedIn, Facebook. Yeah. I think for me, and Emma said it as well, I think have an idea of perhaps the best places that you should be, but I would make sure that you really concentrate and get to know your number one first, all of its little intricacies, what works best, what doesn't work, before you move on to the next one, and then before you move on to the next one. You can use similar content, or you can use the same content across platforms, as long as you've made it right for that platform. So do make sure that if you're posting something on Instagram, please don't tick the box that says post immediately onto Facebook, because an Instagram post on Facebook looks really odd because they have different posting etiquettes. So you can use the same content, but you need to post it natively on each platform. You can use scheduling tools to do this, so that you're not having to pop back from one platform to another. So do make sure that you've made it look like it should be on that platform, rather than it's just an imitation of something that's somewhere else. Okay. Any questions on any of that so far, folks? Rose, did you have a question? Do you want to unmute? You need to unmute, Rose.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. This is all really helpful overview and update, because things are changing all the time. I remember. Am I echoing there? Because I'm echoing. It's really horrible.
Kathy, if you put yourself on mute for a minute.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've been watching a lot over the last couple of years, on all sorts of presentations, I think including you, Emma, on Enterprise Nation, at least. Maybe you, Kathy, too, I'm not sure. But it's interesting how everything's changing all the time. And that's exciting, but also unnerving. But I'm trying to be more excited than unnerved. And I've sort of discovered that I do have a big resistance to this stuff, as well as really wanting to get on top of it. And I'm in my late 50s, so I'm trying not to be. I'm not bothered by that, but I'm also aware that I'm not slow, but I'm slower to digest and get things. And by the time I've got them, they've changed. But that doesn't matter. I wanted really to, first of all, to say thank you for what you're doing, because it's very helpful to keep engaging with it and hearing. And I'm beginning to feel that my business is about to happen. And I've been brewing it very quietly, very slowly for a while. And nice things are starting to happen, just starting. And partly thanks to Visionnaires, by the way, thank you. But I wanted to ask you what you just said about the ebook, Kathy, because I think an ebook would probably be quite a good idea for me to create, having just been on something that's made me think that. And what you said about that in relation to social media, can you please repeat what you said?
Yeah, if you could just switch your mic off then, Rose, so we don't get the feedback. Yeah. Basically, I know this is slightly out with what we're doing today, but just to sort of condense it a little bit, if any of you are running a service-based business, so maybe you're running a business where you sell your time for money. One of the things that you should be doing is looking at methodologies for bringing in money to the business while you sleep. Some people call it passive income. There's nothing passive about it at all. It's a hell of a lot of hard work. But there are things that can be sold. So many courses that are pre-recorded, ebooks, books, whatever. The other side of that is that even if you're not running a business that is a time for money business, part of you promoting who you are, what you do, and the expertise that sits within your business is to actually have things that people can either download, so those are your giveaway type things, or creating maybe resource like ebooks, things that you might only sell for about £5, but actually 10 people buy it, 1,000 people buy it, that £5 then somehow or another turns into something that is bringing profitability into the business. So this is part of creating those things that you can sell in these places. It's I call it the product staircase, and it's part of creating things within every business where you can bring clients in at different payment levels to encourage them to buy either at the lower end or pushing them through an upsell up into the upper end. That's a slightly different session, and I think actually, Rosa, I think I did something for Enterprise Nation on that. I won't swear because it might have been for somebody else, but have a look at their lunch and learns, because I've got a few of them on there, so there might be some stuff on there. So that's what I was talking about. Okay.
Thank you.
Right, let's get on then. So everybody's had a think about where they want to start. Let's just go into this concept then of looking at your social holistically. And I think for both Emma and I, this is where people, particularly people that are new to business, but it's not exclusively people that are new to business, sometimes their efforts start to fall through the cracks, because what they do is they think, okay, I've got X type of customer, they tend to hang out in this place, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whichever one it might be. So therefore, if I put my time and effort into that platform, that means that I will start to develop a reputation, that people will get to know who I am, people will want to buy from me, all of these kinds. So it's the idea that if I spend my time there, that time is going to turn into sale. And what we find is that if you do that without thinking across the business as a whole in terms of the messages that you're putting out, that it could just be a question of your time being spent rather than your customers spending money on your business. So I just wanted to outline this idea of what you should be thinking about in terms of your promotion, your digital promotion across the board. So I'm going to start right at the heart of things with, I've put a shop front there, but what I'm really talking about is your owned space on the internet. So you might want to call that a website. Okay, so it's the space that you own on the website that tells people exactly who you are, what you do, how you do it. So it's the whole of who you are, because remember, every social post that you create is just a tiny snapshot. And that tiny snapshot is something that should be designed to push people back towards your sales space, your website, where they can find out more about you. So we start at the website. We make sure that that place is actually engaging, that it's been built so that people can navigate it easily, that it tells them who you are, what you do, how you help, that you solve their problems, going all the way back to the beginning of this session where we were talking about your customers and what their problems are and how you solve them. So you have a space that you own that allows you to actually be fully yourself and to engage with people that are actually visiting. Okay, then on that space and in that place, you need to have something that entices people to stay in contact with you. So we've mentioned a couple of times the idea of having perhaps downloadable things. So these things are called lead magnets, and they are things that allow people to engage with you, and then allow you to remarket to them. We haven't got the time this evening to go into all of those things, but basically I reckon you've all experienced the freebie download of a website that then engages you with the person that owns that business, and they can tell you a bit more about what they do, how they do it, and then you make a decision whether you buy or you don't buy. The whole point of these things is to make sure that you engage people so that they keep coming back to your website. And one of the biggest things that I find as the missing link when people start thinking about social is that they forget that email marketing is part of the social marketing mix. And that it's not just a question of thinking about, I'm going to be using Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, that you do actually need to be thinking about how does that then fit in with an email marketing strategy. So the idea is that if you have a website, for example, you allow people to download something from it, they go onto your mailing list. Every week you put up a blog on your website, you can let people know that new blog is there. Each time that's pushing them towards your website, and that's helping them make a decision over whether you're the business that they want to buy from. That then allows you to actually create this social visibility. That's where your social media side of things comes in. You can see it's part of the picture, it isn't the picture. And one of the things to remember with social media, if we really want to make sales from it, we need to actually be pushing people to the place where they make the sales. So going back to something that Emma said earlier, apart from Pinterest really, or if you respond to a specific ad on a platform like Instagram, people aren't necessarily on social media to buy stuff. They're on there to talk to their mates. They're on there to find stuff out. They're on there they're in leisure time a lot of the time. So if a lot of the things that you're putting out on social are about, you know, buy this from me, buy that from me, people are going to switch off. But if you're putting interesting stuff out on your social media platforms that encourage people to come back to your website so that they can look at the things that you're doing, that's there when you can then start saying, oh, and by the way, if you like that thing, would you like to buy it because I've got it here? So I wanted just to put this slide in here so that you can see that although social is really important, it's not the answer. It's part of the pattern. Okay, so Emma, is there stuff that you want to add on to that?
Literally, I have nothing to add. I think you've explained that absolutely brilliantly. I can't add one more thing to that. Oh, I'm mute.
That's 22 years of doing this stuff. Okay. Okay, so I'll pass that one to you.
So, $1 million question. Now that we know what platforms we're on, now we know who we're trying to target, what do we actually give them? So we give them stuff that we think they're going to engage with. And a good way of kind of getting that order in our brain is to think about formats, what assets we've got. And I'm saying this more and more actually at the minute, but data's wealth in our business and assets are wealth in our business. So start thinking about what blogs you can create. A blog can be used and cut up many times. We can record ourselves talking about a blog, then strip out the audio for a podcast. We can video ourselves and transcribe that video into a blog. We can take a selfie of us talking about the blog. We can take a selfie of us wrapping up a product and put it in the post. If we hate doing things like singing and dancing, a good over-the-shoulder shot of us in action is a great image to use. People buy from people, so the more we can have of ourselves in our feed, the better. Infographics is a brilliant way of getting a lot of data in a visual representation. We said about videos getting engagement, so you'll see that TikTok and Instagram offer the best engagement at the moment. It's because it's videos. If you can do something live, then your network get notified, and again, that increases engagement. Everyone loves a meme or a GIF. Stories and reels, that's where the algorithm are pushing you. So again, talking about working with the algorithm compared to against it, you know, anything you can do, reels, polls, stories, video, that's where you're going to see the big numbers. If you can get invited to appear on a webinar for your industry like this one, do so. If you can record yourself and creating a podcast, do it. And like I said before, people love to watch other people doing stuff. I know we've got some clients that make stuff and it's very hypnotic to watch them, but it doesn't mean that we're going to go out and suddenly become a ceramic artist or anything like that, but it gets us in their world. So that's 9 ideas of formats. Each one of those should be easy to create. If you know what you're talking about, you know who you want to target, and you know what you want to get out the back end of it.
And I think, you know, going back right to the beginning where Emma outlined the pain points, or, you know, the problems that your customers face, that's where you can then start to think about, well, you know, if I'm trying to explain something quite complex that might be, say, a medical thing, an infographic would work really well for that. So you can start thinking about the kind of content that might showcase what it is that you're doing. I think also we haven't put all this up here to say that you have to do all of this all of the time, but I think it's really important to change up what you're doing. So don't just always do the same thing in the same way, because your customers will also respond to different types of content. So you may have people that are more into reading. My husband asked me to read a booklet to explain. We just bought a new compost bin. I know that's really boring, but he's told me I have to read the booklet that is the instruction booklet. Now, to me, reading an instruction booklet is like torture, because I just like to use something. But there are people that like to read stuff more, so blogs might respond to them better, whereas other people might like to listen to stuff perhaps while they're on a run or while they're driving. So if you've got a podcast, that might reach them. So just think about, when you're creating your content, change it up a bit. And as Emma said, don't think that everything has to be different. So if you take a blog, you put 5 paragraphs into a blog, then each of those paragraphs, maybe you could do a live just on that bit of that topic. Maybe you could do a reel where you just introduce the fact that you've written this blog and people can come over and read it. Maybe if there's statistics in that blog, you could create an infographic. So, you know, do think about the fact that if you're creating something, our mantra is write it once and use it many times. So don't think that you have to do loads and loads of different things. Take one thing and create it in lots of different formats.
I was talking about this earlier today, actually. We mentioned Facebook as a pay-to-play platform, and advertising is great if we want to get our stuff, products or service in front of somebody consistently, rather than kind of rely on the vagaries of organic social media. So you can target by interest, you can target by location, you can target by data. So if somebody's been on your website and they've stayed for a certain amount of time, or they've visited a certain amount of pages, you can target those people and show them an ad the next time they go onto Facebook. Ads will give you a consistency, it will get you in front of the right people, but you pay for the privilege. You can start that from £3 a day on Facebook, for example, and you can go up to kind of £1,000 a month. So do check what you've got in your ad budget and test before putting the house on it, shall we say. I think I've probably covered that, but I was going to say test what you want people to do. So if you want eyeballs cheaply, then you might choose a brand awareness campaign. If you want someone to go to your website and physically put something in a basket and press pay on the credit card, then that's a conversion campaign, and not all of that can be tested. Test different visuals, test different images, test different headlines, and you'll get that sweet spot, and then you can scale up. I have to say, I'm on lots of groups for Facebook ads managers, and it's not a happy place at the moment. People are spending a fortune and not seeing great results. So there's a bit of a caveat that just because we're spending on ads doesn't mean to say that we'll get a return, especially in month one. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there to set expectations, really. Paid search. So the difference between paid social on something like Facebook and Instagram is Google paid search, or on Bing, for example. This is where people put stuff in a search engine like, you know, mint green stilettos for sale, and then anybody that's got mint green stilettos could say, yep, we've got those. Their website would come up first, they pay for the privilege, and they pay cost per click. Depending on how competitive your business is, that will determine how much somebody has to pay to get somebody to the website. But again, it can be worth it. Do the numbers. Again, reality check. Typical conversion rate is between 1% and 3%. So because I worked this out the other day, for every 10,000 people that see your ads, I have to get the numbers now, 100 people come to the website and one person will convert. That's the kind of level that we're talking about. So please don't be under any illusion that even if you're seen by 10,000 people, 10,000 people would not be buying your products and service, unfortunately. But that's the way of the world, and at least it gets you in front of those 10,000. So remarketing, so this is where, for anybody that's ever been to Marx's, looked at stuff and then gone back onto Facebook, this is where the platform, if you've got your pixels installed on your website, it will collect that data and then match a user profile to a product. It's super powerful for getting that second bite of a cherry.
We wanted to put something about paid for ads in here because it's the way things are moving, and I think, you know, you need to be aware of this. As we've said, you know, going through that, the platforms do change, and one of the things that is changing is what you get for free. It doesn't mean that you won't make any inroads. We're not saying that you have to do this, but actually some strategic advertising on some of the platforms can be incredibly helpful, particularly when you're at the beginning of your business journey. But I think it's one of the crucial things, I think, is that number one, you need to be budgeting for this kind of thing in your business, and number two, and I'll use Facebook as an example because I wouldn't even touch Google with a barge pole myself. But if we look at Facebook, they make it deceptively simply difficult. And what I mean by that is it looks quite easy, but actually to get real leverage from anything that you're doing there, it's a bit more complicated than it looks. And I would never do any Facebook ads myself because I don't do it on a day-to-day basis. So one thing to think about is that if you do want to start using ads in your business as a way to, particularly the brand awareness ones right at the beginning of a business can be really helpful. I would probably be looking at somebody who does that kind of work on a day-to-day basis to do it for me, because in the long run it will save you money because you'll make fewer mistakes. So that we thought it was important to put that in there, so that you're aware of that.
Rose, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just want to know why you wouldn't touch Google with a barge pole, Kathy.
I would touch it if I could afford it. I mean, that's the thing. I don't really have a business that I feel is Google Ads worthy, if that makes sense. If I had a product-based business, I would definitely be looking at Google Ads at some point. Okay. Because it is a really good way of getting products. But as a service-based business, it's not so much for me. And also because advertising on Google is very, very complicated. That's the easiest way to do it. And you could actually end up spending a lot of money and you know, not getting any return. So if you are doing Google Ads, you really do need somebody who knows Google Ads. Okay. That's the key. Okay. So not that I don't think it's good, I think it's brilliant, but they charge you for the brilliance. Okay. That's the crucial thing.
Thank you.
Why are there so many unhappy Facebook managers? The reason why they're all unhappy, Barry, this started last year when Facebook changed their tracking. They fell out with Apple, so they don't get as much Apple data anymore. So the results on Facebook aren't as good as they once was. And basically what the Facebook managers are seeing now is that they're spending a lot. They're not being seen by many people compared to 2 years ago. So reach is going down, results are going down, it's costing more, and their clients aren't happy. And you know, I've seen it for myself, but it's like across the board, everybody's saying, you know, my campaigns aren't performing. They haven't changed anything their end. So it's purely down to Facebook platform.
So what we wanted to do is we wanted to give you a little bit of a methodology, I suppose, for how you might put some of this into action in that holistic way. So we talk about having a social visibility plan. So it's not just you know, that whole thing about what am I going to put on Insta today, or have I got anything interesting to say on LinkedIn, that kind of thing. So we want you to think in that much more holistic way. I think the key thing is to make sure that there's a consistency. Now you work out what that consistency is. You know, if you know that you can do 3 things a week really well, then do 3 posts a week really well, then do 3 posts a week and keep to 3 posts a week until you can do more. The worst thing that you can do is do loads of stuff and then do nothing. So this concept of fire and ice. So make yourself create a consistent thing. If you know, as I say, you can do this X, Y, and Z, do that consistently. With businesses, and there is this move now, and particularly in terms of people that are buying things, is the personalization of business. So a lot of time people are looking to know more about the business owner. So if you're a coach or a consultant, that would be quite standard anyway, because you'd probably be working one-to-one with people. But even if you have got a product, people want to know the person behind the product. Working with a client at the moment who's developed a really interesting product. And for example, that her about page on her website was all written in the 3rd person, and it was all a bit, you know, bland. As soon as we got her to rewrite it where it was about her being a working mum and why she invented this product and the difference that it's made and all that kind of stuff, she sold 5 items. So, you know, it actually really does make a difference. So these are the kinds of things that you can do. You can start to build your personal brand as much as the brand of the business. It allows you to show people what you've done, what you've achieved, what you believe in. It's not about being salesy. People don't respond to buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. They respond to, this is how I help solve a problem for somebody. Oh, that'd be interesting. Maybe I need to find out how I get hold of somebody who can help me solve that problem. Be holistic, as I said, use the ads and plan ahead. So this, we want to show it to you graphically as well in terms of the kinds of things that we're thinking about. But I really do think that as much as anything in your business, this stuff has to be planned forward. You really do need to know what you're going to be talking about next Wednesday and what the outcome that you want to achieve. One thing that we haven't mentioned here, but will in a second, is this concept of calls to action in the stuff that you're doing. Everything that you put out needs to actually ask people to do something as a result of you posting it. So it can be, you know, go and read my blog on my website, download this resource, as Emma said, vote in my poll, whatever it might be. Everything you do needs to get people to take action, because as soon as people take action, you've got measure points in terms of the effectiveness of what you're doing. If you're just sending stuff out blandly, you'll never really know whether people are engaging with it fully or not. Anything you want to add in there, Emma?
No, agree with everything you said, as always.
Okey-doke. So this is the kind of thing that we think that you might be looking at if we look at how you engage your social platforms into your general process. So we mentioned the website, and I said, you know, easy to navigate, having some good copy and that kind of thing, and getting people to do stuff. So we mentioned that already. The whole idea about conversion is about, once people have visited your website, is what do you want them to do? So, you know, have you got something that they can download so that they can you can then take them into your email marketing list? Are your social media links active on your website? What's one of the biggest problems we come across, Emma?
Always on a website. Is it talking about the website? Yeah, always on a website. We often find that a web developer hasn't put the right links to the social media channels in a website. So yeah, one to check tonight.
Yeah, definitely. It happens all of the time. You know, I looked on the place where I go to get my nails done, and I looked on their I wanted to go to their Facebook page, and it was, the developer put some random woman's Facebook profile in as the link behind it. Make sure that your social media links on your website actually take them to the spaces where you are, and don't let them put social media icons on to platforms that you're not using, because that's the other one. You know, somebody will have the Twitter icon on and it won't go anywhere because they don't use Twitter. Emma mentioned about the ads and things. There's something called the Facebook pixel, which is a little bit of code that you need to make sure is embedded in the back end of your website, because that will enable you, as and when you do go into perhaps doing either Facebook or Instagram ads, to use that data to construct audiences based on people that are actually visiting your website. So it's a really, really useful tool. And we've put automated email on there because, you know, email is part of your social media toolkit. And anything that you can create where you can communicate, you can create something once, and every time somebody engages with something, they get automated emails sent to them. That saves you masses of time and energy, even if it's down to the fact that you've got an automated sequence after a purchase off your website, where people are encouraged then to leave you a review, something like that. They work really well. you want stuff there that you can then start sharing out in your social spaces. So a lead magnet, as I said, is a downloadable resource, but there's nothing stopping you going onto your social platforms and saying, hey, I've got this thing, would you like to get a copy of it? Emma does this really well. She's got loads of these things, and she just says, oh, anybody want to know what they should be posting or what Instagram hashtags you should be using? DM me and I'll send you a copy of it. So, you know, you can use those really effectively outside. If you create a weekly blog, there's food for your social posts for a week at least. Make sure that you have really good visual content so that, again, that's something that you can share out into your social spaces. And I think if I go into the full social visibility side of things, what you do need to do, and this is not the plan that we're suggesting to you, please, okay, this is just an idea. What you should do, going back to this whole thing about consistency and fire and ice, is actually plan what you can achieve on a week by week and a month by month basis. If you say, okay, I can blog once a week or I can blog once a fortnight, okay, less than once a fortnight is not good, then I will commit that I'm going to blog once a week or once a fortnight. I'm more of a visual person, so what I will do is I'll do either a live or a YouTube video once a week. And then what I can do is, as Emma said, I can take the audio from that and I can turn that into a podcast as well. So what I'm getting at here is create a plan of what you're going to do on a week by week basis. 3 times a week on Facebook, once a day on Instagram, maybe a live once a week and a blog once a week. That will be absolutely fine to start with. You don't have to do masses and masses of things. And then the final thing that we'd throw in there in terms of campaigns is that there is a difference between social posting and then marketing campaigning. So one of the things that we would get you to think about is that in your social media plans, that you actually plan for people to do specific things. So you actually maybe target some of your best customers with something specific, or you make sure that once a quarter you do a survey and you can use your social platforms for doing that kind of stuff. So this is the sort of thing that we would be getting you to think about in terms of yourselves digitally and socially visible across the whole of the internet, not just in the social spaces that you know, of Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing. Because if you just exist in there, you're not going to get the traction that you need to convert people into customers. Okay. So I think, yep, that's the lot. So any final questions?
I think Rose might have a question.
Why do you think that? I do, but how are you mind reading?
Oh, I think you've got your hand. No, I'm not that good, Rose. I think you've got your hand up on Teams. So if you lower your hand.
Oh, did I? Oh, sorry, God.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
One of these days I'll.
But if you have a question, though, feel free.
What? Sorry.
If you have got a question, though, feel free.
Actually, no. The reason I didn't realise I had my hand up, but I was actually scratching my head as well because I was thinking, oh, I didn't see that number 6 bit. I missed all that because I was busy typing. If I copy type what you write, I actually learn. So I'm trying to copy fast as I go, but I missed the number 6 bit. That's all right. I'll ask one.
Okay. Hi, Sarah.
Do we get to see your slides at all? I missed a lot of notes, especially the age range of each of your which is really annoying.
No, please don't worry. I'm sure Anna will be able to send them across, and Kathy and I are happy to share.
Do you mind?
Definitely. I will get in touch with all of you and provide the slides. We'll also upload the recording as well on our YouTube channel. So just look out for all of that.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Replying to the chat, so Ugo asked how effective are cookies. They're getting less so because people are using ad blockers. And Marcy said, are Instagram ads worth the money? I would define what worth the money is for you. If you're like, I'm running a campaign at the moment for a private school, so their lifetime value of a client is going to be thousands. So for them, if they spend £100 on getting somebody to an open morning, it's worth it because their lifetime value is, you don't even want to know. If you've got a product that's worth 99 quid and it's costing you 100 quid to get it, then Instagram ads aren't worth it. So you've got to do that check and measure.
Any other questions from anyone?
Hi, Laurie.
Hi, can I ask a quick question? I'm just interested to know how much you feel people can do this on their own, or they actually need advice from people like yourself to actually get up and running, because there's a lot to learn quite quickly here if you're starting from scratch.
Do you want to answer that and I'll do the chat?
Yeah, I would say that there's an awful lot that you can do yourself, but what every business owner should be spending their time doing is their business. What business owners shouldn't be attempting to do is to turn themselves into social media marketers. And I think that's one of the big problems that I face. I tend to work with ultra small businesses, solopreneurs, one person operations a lot of the time, and they're doing less business because they're attempting to be all of the departments in their business themselves. Now, when you're first starting out, money can sometimes be a problem, so you do need to do some of these things yourself. But outsourcing, my philosophy is do what you do best and outsource the rest. So you should be using somebody who does those things. And I will throw a little pinch of salt into here. A social media manager isn't somebody who just puts stuff onto your Facebook page or your Instagram profile. That can be done by a virtual assistant. You need somebody who understands the outcomes that you want from posting on your platforms and can actually then look at the data and give you solid feedback on the impact that you're actually having, and perhaps make suggestions of changes that you need to make going forward to be more successful. So I think there is a slight difference there. So you do need to choose who you're going to work with carefully as well. But definitely, yeah, you can get yourself going. And Rose said that she's coming towards her late 50s. I'm coming towards my mid 60s. And unlike Emma, I actually remember the first day we had our first computer, because I used to have to wheel it into classrooms and show people, and the students used to go, "Ooh," because it was so exciting. So it's I was there before them, but I think it's really important, as I say, learn how to use a platform before trying to learn to use another one, because otherwise you're going to get confused. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. But definitely, once you can afford it, and you should be working this into your marketing budget, folks, but once you can afford it, you should be paying somebody else to do it and not doing it yourself.
What's your business, Laurie?
Well, I'm a business consultant, and I'm actually a coach. So and an NED, so I do a variety of things, but it's mainly on the coaching side that I was quite interested in developing a service offer.
Business coaching from a Google Ads point of view is so competitive, hugely costly. Yeah, it always astounds me.
Yeah, I think Laurie, with your type of business, with any kind of time for money business, you're probably better off creating stuff that demonstrates your expertise. And I think for your business, a product staircase where you've got lots of lead magnet stuff that gets people to know you, then followed with strong email marketing. and LinkedIn as your primary platform. I think that would probably be your suitcase of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And working your network, I guess. Working one's own network.
Oh yeah, what is it they say? Your network is your net worth. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Should we hand back to Anna now? Because I'm conscious of everyone's time.
Hello. Well, thank you so much, Kathy and Emma. It's a joy to have you here, and I have the pleasure of working with you every now and then, and it brings me joy that we're able to bring your expertise to a lot of people with this seminar. We hope to have you more as we move forward with our monthly seminars. And yeah, I'll provide the slides to all of you via email, as well as the link to the recording on our YouTube channel. In the meantime, if you have any more questions or any inquiries, feel free to email me back, and I will be quick to respond. But that's it from now. We have lots more seminars coming up next month, so watch out for that. We'll definitely check our website, and there will be lots of information there. But thank you so much again, Kathy and Emma. Pleasure to have you. And thank you to all of you for coming and joining us today.
Thank you, Anna, for setting it up and all your hard work in promoting.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Anna, and thanks everybody for coming along, and have a really lovely evening, even if it is snowing where you are.
Take care.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.